Thank you very much. My name is Nicolas Hulsmans. I'm thrilled to moderate this excellent panel about Web3 and the Metaverse. Web3 gaming and the Metaverse are redefining how players engage with gamers, how games are monetized, and how communities are built. Yet, these technologies also bring unique challenges, including accessibility, data security, and scalability. To start, I will ask each panelist to introduce themselves and share a bit more about themselves and their company. Along with introductions, I would like to briefly how your platform project contributes to the evolution of Web3 gaming. So let's start with Omar on your side, and then we'll finish back here.
Sure. Hi everyone, my name is Omar Ghanem. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah?
It'll be fine.
Okay. My name is Omar Ghanem. I'm the founder and CEO of Games.gg, which is the #1 Web3 gaming platform. Currently has just over 1 million users, 500 plus games across 16 different chains. We focus mainly on content, but we also have player engagement and other functionalities that we can probably dive a bit deeper into in the conversation.
Assad?
Hi, I'm Assad. I'm the co-founder and chief visionary officer of Medieval Empires. Started this 3 years ago. It's a mid-core strategy game, and right now I'm building a Web3 gaming publisher where we are acquiring 3 Web3 games and pushing them to the market.
Billal?
Hey everyone, I'm Billal. I'm the hello. Can you hear me well now? Still? Hello.
Yeah, all good, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So my name is Billal. I'm the head of growth in the region at the Sandbox. The Sandbox is the Metaverse. We're around 12, 13 years old. We recently launched our newest season, October 9th. Since then, we're at probably 600,000 active users. Really looking forward to our regional goals. And yeah, thank you. This is my second speaking session, end of the week. So if we're a bit tired, please do excuse us.
You look good on stage.
So I'm going to ask you the most questions.
Perfect. I am Manel. I'm CEO at Games for a Living.
Can you put the mic a little bit closer?
Yes, sure. So I'm Manel. I'm CEO at Games for a Living. We are pioneers in what we call luxury video games. And I've been in the industry for 25 years and released several global hits in PC, mobile, and console. I'm looking forward to the next revolution in Web3.
And Yunus, will it work?
Hi guys, yeah. I'm Yunus and I'm the CBDO of Space Mavericks. Space Mavericks in a nutshell is Angry Birds with guns and spaceships, or worms on steroids. And yeah, I mean it's a fun artillery type game, and yeah, I'm looking forward for this panel.
Okay, nice lineup, guys. Let's begin by defining Web3 gaming and its relevance to the gaming industry. Omar, Games.gg is a key player in the Web3 gaming ecosystem. In simple terms, how would you explain Web3 gaming to someone unfamiliar with it? And what are its core benefits compared to traditional gaming?
Oof, that's a loaded question. I think simply put, Web3 games are essentially fun games that provide a new dynamic for players where they can get more out of their games. So be that asset ownership, be that, you know, the ability to potentially resell loot, items. It really is just a framework for something that I think gaming has needed for quite some time. If you look at esports, for example, over the past 10 years or so, one of the biggest challenges for a lot of, especially here in the region, if we're talking regionally, for players is how centralized everything is. So you have like a Lebanese kid, 16 years old, wins the Fortnite tournament, 100K prize pool or whatever it is, but he needs to wait like 12 months to get paid. With Web3 gaming, you get paid like, if you win on a Monday, you get paid on a Tuesday morning, right? So that's just one of the different avenues that Web3 gaming adds. But I think I don't like complicating it. I think it depends on what you care about. If you care about asset ownership, then great. That's what Web3 gaming does for you. If you care about decentralization and the ability to, you know, move funds or exchange items or whatever it is, it also does that for you. But I think more than anything, it's fresh perspective on how games can monetize, and at the same time, how players can actually engage with these games. Because a lot of the times, when you look at, you know, you buy a game off the shelf, Call of Duty or FIFA, whatever it is, you don't really have much of a say unless, let's say, you petition and bully, you know, someone like Helldivers 2 to like not do the PSN move or whatever it is. It's always a large scale move. But with Web3 gaming, you can really just buy into the studio, have real conversations with the founders. Everyone's on the ground. Everything is an indie game. No such thing as a AAA Web3 game, if we're being realistic. And I think that's actually the beauty of it, because it's a completely fresh dynamic for gaming.
And so, is there a reason why AAA games would not necessarily be suited for Web3?
AAA games wouldn't be necessarily fit?
Yes, correct.
No, I don't think so. I just think the definition of AAA it's a bit skewed, right? People think high quality graphics is a AAA game, but AAA game means you're spending millions and millions of dollars on marketing. I'd say 99% of games in Web3 don't spend millions of dollars on marketing. There's maybe a handful off the grid and a few others. But I think it does fit. I think looking at new IP and old IP that's coming into the space, like Maple Story now has a Web3 game. You've got, Rayman and Captain Laserhawk from Ubisoft that have Web3 games. It definitely does have a fit. I just think there's too much of a stigma and not enough education. And that's part of the reason why we founded Games.gg, was to start that education cycle and educate gamers about it. Once that happens, you'll see the AAA games and the studios come in. We've seen that with Ubisoft. We'll see it with more studios as we move forward. But right now, the state that we're in, I'd say there's maybe 1 or 2 titles that are actually AAA. Doesn't mean that the other titles are bad, because Astrobot just won, Game of the Year last night. Went up against Black Myth Wukong and a bunch of other games. So I don't think AAA games are better necessarily.
Are there any misconceptions about Web3 that you would like to address?
There's a lot. Yeah, I mean, the obvious one is like it's a scam, right? Like it's this thing that you have to buy into, spend a lot of money, someone has to lose. Like there are so many different dynamics, and there are Web3 games that don't even have fungible tokens. They just have non-fungible tokens, basically assets that you cannot replicate, NFTs, whatever you want to call it, whatever you're comfortable with. But in its essence, it's just collections, cosmetics, things that you actually own and can transact with. As you look at Fortnite, this is the example I love to give, right? So you spend money on a skin in Fortnite, you buy V-Bucks, you get the skin, you play it, you grow up, you stop playing Fortnite. That money is stuck forever in Fortnite, compared to, let's say, in a Web3 game where you can actually sell that asset to someone else, even if it doesn't make you as much money, even if it's like 10% of what you paid. But you can move that money into the next game and the one after. For me, like, that's a dream when you think about FIFA, because I've spent so much money. Like, EA has basically like rugged me, realistically, since FIFA 14. And till date, I don't own my Ronaldo in 2018. I don't own my Messi card in 2019. I don't own any of these things, and I never got to get the value back out of it. So completely different dynamic, but I think it's scary at first. Similar to mobile games, similar to free-to-play games. All these things were really scary concepts, or actually concepts that people didn't respect at first, but I think with time, it'll get there.
Very interesting. So, Billal, the Sandbox is synonymous with the Metaverse. How does Web3 gaming fit into the broader vision of the Metaverse, and what opportunities does it open up for gamers and developers?
So I just wanted to add to something that Omar was saying. So I think there's a very fine line between, actually maybe not such a fine line, but when it comes to Web3 gaming, we're not trying to convert Web2 gamers to Web3 gamers. I don't think that's so I feel like this question kind of does come up quite often. And I really don't think that when it comes to at least what we're doing or what we've experienced, EA Sports is, FIFA is a good example. League of Legends is a good example. All that money that we've put into games over the years, imagine all that was actually on the blockchain where it can be interoperable. Your tokens can be moved around to other games. So it's important to mention that I don't think Web2 games are adaptable to be, all of a sudden, becoming Web3 games, if that makes sense. So I think when it comes to the Sandbox, we obviously have an ecosystem that it's like a one-stop shop kind of thing. So you can sign up, very user-friendly, create your account, and then you can play to earn, and you can also build. It's a no code platform. You can build your own games. You have two programs, one called Vox Edit, the other's called Game Maker. You use them. It's all voxel-based, so you use them to build your experiences. And it really offers two different streams. We have let's say a B2C stream and a B2B stream, and it caters to all. Even if you look at our user demographics, like it goes from 18 all the way up to 34, which really showcases how Web3 in general can garner like such a different or larger kind of audience than your traditional Web2 games.
Any of you guys want to add or? Okay, good. So Yunus, the metaverse is a buzzword, often misunderstood. How would you define it in the context of gaming, and how close are we to achieving its full potential?
Yeah, I would say like metaverse in general. I would not really associate it with Web3 like completely. For instance, I would even consider, for example, stuff like what Fortnite does, a little bit of a metaverse as well. Because for me, metaverse means what I see when I watch Ready Player One. It's like one world or like it's one place with everything combined, like different IPs coming to each other. I mean, I have a Attack on Titan skin in Fortnite. I didn't think that I would have that, or like I have a Naruto skin like in Fortnite. So this is what I would say is what for me, but what I wish, like what I really wish, what the metaverse is. And I mean, Facebook, Meta is trying it. I also have an Oculus Quest, so I hope that they will succeed. Like I'm rooting for them. I mean, I would associate metaverse with that, and of course, and I think like with Web3, the fact that in the space and as Omar mentioned, like it's very indie. Like I would consider ourselves indie as well. And what indie does is the necessity of collaboration. And that's the thing what I think Web3 games or Web3 gaming, that's a good thing. And that will lead to or help that at the end we might have like a metaverse as well, like attached to Web3. So yeah, that's my 2 cents essentially.
And Assad, so tell me more about the different revenue models, right? So how do you guys manage to monetize the users in the Web3?
Yeah, I think this is also the beauty of the blockchain itself, because the monetization of NFTs, I mean, it's similar to a skin, buying a skin and the company earns money. But anytime this skin gets sold anywhere, it can be outside the game, maybe to some people who see some great IP and they want to buy this NFT, and then they sell it to someone else, like the company is always earning on that. I think this is a benefit companies actually have. But the cool thing is that the players also earn on that, because they sell it and they're free to sell it, and they also earn money. So the whole NFT, and I mean, he talked about ownership. This is where I come from and why I believe in the blockchain so much, because ownership is the main thing. I was having a keynote yesterday talking about ownership, and blockchain is the best technology for that. So I would say that's one big monetization. The other stuff is, I mean, it's similar to any other games. Like if you want to buy something from Medieval Empires, you can go to our store and then pay with crypto. But there will be also a fiat on-ramp where you can just buy with your usual money, right? So at the end, we are a game, but the additional benefit is that you own everything on there, and the players will earn if they have the NFTs.
And on your side, Manel, what lessons can traditional games teach Web3 developers about creating lasting monetization strategies, if there are any?
Yeah, sure. So, first of all, to position this, I will start with what Web3, I believe, brings to video games. So, we've seen many changes in the story of video games. One of the key points in time was when internet arrived, and the other one was when micropayments were possible. All of that enabled what's called these days free-to-play games as a service, which is the current mainstream of video games. Like the best on-the-shelf product, let's say it's GTA, that generated like 9 billion. There are many free-to-play games as a service that generated more than 30 billion, like Fortnite or Candy Crush. So what I do believe that Web3 brings to play and will change massively what we see in terms of video games is that now you have player-to-player transactions possible, and also company-to-player transactions possible. Before, all of that was very difficult. With tokens, you can create that. That enables a lot of new opportunities, as we've seen in the past, every time there is a new technology. So Web3 is a new technology that opens the door to new business models. Now, there is one thing here that's very important to understand. There are two different sectors related to games. One is called gaming, and the other one is gambling. Okay, what's the difference between gaming and gambling? Gambling is when you do an activity that's fun, like you play a game, but you can get a financial reward out of it. And it has to be a financial reward that's random of when you will get it, and also it's random in quantity, so you don't know how much you're going to get it. How much you're going to get. When it's about video games, you cannot have financial rewards coming to you, okay? Unless it's a skill. So they will be skill based. It will be, you have to be the best one or the one that paid the best that gets the reward, okay? That's why in casinos you won't see chess, because chess, it's not fun, it's not gambling. Because gambling has a lot of peculiarities. It causes also addiction. It's a very different type of gameplay. Once from a brain standpoint, when you pay for an activity or when you get paid for an activity. Okay? So with all of that, clearly, we have two parts in Web3 gaming. One is video games, and the other one is, I will say, the gambling part. The gambling part, I think, will see a huge revolution in casinos, where we will see video games being part of the casino and having way more engaging experiences than the poker, the roulette, and so forth. That's going to be a huge segment and growth for the Web3 video games industry. In my case, I focus on video games. I've never done gambling in my career, not because I've not been offered to, but because it's not my passion. My passion is in video games. And I really love this opportunity now to have player-to-player transactions and company-to-player transactions. I'm figuring out ways to do that within the games industry. That's why, in our case, we are pioneering what we call luxury video games, which is a category of video games that looks into the future. So in the future, we'll have a huge amount of games. Like, I don't know how many of you are conscious that this year, about 200,000 video games will be released. Today, between today and tomorrow, 3 video games with a budget of more than $50 billion will be released. And today, about 15 games with a budget of between $5 to $50 million will be released. This amount of games means that games right now are very disposable because you play for free and people jump from one game to the other. They don't stick. And I think like Web3 can change that philosophy because that with AI coming, like maybe in a couple of years we have 2 million games released? Who will know about any of the games that have been released? That will be a huge issue. So I think authenticity and working on things like luxury can break that and make games more spatial. And I think on all of that, Web3 will have a lot to do.
And Billal, so the Sandbox is driven by user-generated content and player interactions, obviously. How do creators and users generate revenue within your platform, and what incentives keep them engaged?
Good question. So yeah, obviously we're very proud about that we are user-generated content, and I personally think, and obviously us at the Sandbox, we also believe that the future of, one of the key aspects of the future of gaming is in user-generated content. And if you actually look at many of the successful games these days, or games that are being built, that's actually the case. Whenever you had like some kind of user-generated content, it takes your game to the next level. Sorry, what was your first part of your question? Can you repeat that?
How do creators generate revenue with the games they create?
So to generate revenue on the Sandbox, first of all, we actually have 10 weeks right now after we launched Alpha Season 4. We have 10 weeks of prizes, and we're releasing 100 IPs. Actually, this just ends in a few weeks. December 18, I believe it ends. And we've given away, I would believe, up to 2 million in sand since the 10 weeks began. So that's kind of one way where if you do play games on the Sandbox and you take part in Alpha Season 4, it's a way where you can really monetize greatly. We also have weekly prizes. But I guess to answer your question more directly, when it really depends on, so how we do it, and how we do it is, like I was saying earlier, that we have a B2C stream and a B2B stream. So let's say you have a business that actually purchased land on the Metaverse in the Sandbox, and you build the experience depending, I would say, on your business needs. Like we have partnerships that are very vast. We have partnerships with, for example, Napoli Football Club. We have partnerships with Warner Brothers. They all have land in the Metaverse. So it really depends on what kind of experience they build for their community that they can monetize. You can even token gate it. You can enter this land if you have some kind of avatar. Because we also do avatar launches, and that's really another way where you can monetize. Create avatars, and we do avatar launches, neighborhood sales. honestly a bunch of fun ways where you can actually monetize your experiences on the Sandbox. And I think a testament of how successful this has been so far and how successful it could be in the future is we've been around for 12 years now. You know, it's not a few months or a few years kind of thing. So I really believe that moving forward, user-generated content, we will see so much more of that in 2025. Not just Web3 games, but I also believe we'll see it more in Web2 games as well. Yeah.
And Assad, what are you guys doing at Medieval Empires to make sure that people not familiar with blockchain are accessible to play your games?
Yeah, I just want to add something from the question before about monetization, because we have a concept in our game which is basically you are a landowner and this is your property in the game. So you have different slots where you can settle other people of the game on your town. And if you have a higher tier land, like let's say tier 5 or tier 5 land, you can produce special units only these guys can produce. So if I let you, for example, on my land, on my tier 4 land, I can set up a tax in the game directly that I get 10% of all coins you get in the game, they go to me because I'm the landowner and you're settling on my land. Or 15% of all your resources you make on your land.
A little bit like paying rent and Monopoly, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is also how it would be in real life, right? Like if I'm the landowner, I let someone settle. And we actually developed it because there were a lot of guilds and they had their own system on how to monetize this. And then we directly build it in the game. So you don't need to have anything, but you just set it in the game for all your lands, settle people there, and it's just happening. You don't need to do anything on top. But yeah, to make it sure, and this is something I started talking 3 years ago when I was on stages. We want to build a game which feels like a usual game. This is the reason why I hired from the beginning only people from the Web2 industry. So our CTOs from King, our CPOs from King, they all have between 15 and 20 years experience in the gaming industry. And I told them, I know you don't like Web3 games, but now build your version of a Web3 game which Web2 people want to play. And that's why we pretty fast partnered up with Immutable X and their passport solution, because you basically just need to register your Google account and then you can play our game. And you already have a wallet and all the NFTs will be in your IMX passport. So it's actually, at the moment, you download our game on the website, you log in with your Google account and the passport, and you are already in the game. That's it. So any Web2 player can just join without any frictions and just enjoy the game. That's how we make sure.
I want to just add something. So you were mentioning that you guys have ex-King on your team. So just to add to this, I think what we also see a lot is, although we're not trying to convert Web2 gamers to Web3, you do see so many Web2 developers who are actually joining the Web3 space, right, when it comes to building games. So if I speak on a more of a regional front and obviously in the Sandbox shoes, so I'm based in Saudi Arabia, and in Saudi Arabia, our main partner in the region is Sansoft. So Sansoft is probably one of the biggest gaming studios in Saudi Arabia, if not the biggest, alongside Saudi Games. And actually, those two entities have some kind of Web3 presence now, come 2024, you know? So I really believe that, just to add to what Assad was saying, is it's pretty evident that, you know, everybody sees the light when it comes to Web3 gaming.
And Yunus, obviously your game is not fully launched yet, but you guys are working very hard on it. How do you guys cope with this challenge and making sure that people who are not necessarily active blockchain or cryptocurrency users, that they're actually finding their way to your games?
This is I think this question, like many founders and like developers ask themselves. What we did was, like, originally, of course, like, first of all, I also agree with what you guys said. Like, Space Mavericks was supposed to be a Web2 game. We pivoted in 2021, and then 2022 we like launched the whole like white paper and so on. And the thing is, like, we knew from the get-go that the client, the game client itself, should be, as Assad said, like the normal game. You're not bombarded with any like connect your wallet or any transaction stuff. Because if a normal person hears transaction, what do they think of? They think of, what happened here, you know? So what we are doing is we decided to launch our closed alpha, not the public version, on Telegram strategically, because we think, of course, since we will go live with a token and so on, we cannot really target Web2 in this type of a launch. So what we decided to do is we said, okay, let's do it on Telegram. Let's pivot from desktop only first to WebGL, meaning browser and Telegram. And the cool thing is Telegram just released like a full screen feature, so perfect. Like it's perfect for us actually, in landscape mode. And we target Web 2.5 people, meaning we mean people that are aware of crypto. They maybe they might have a exchange account like Binance, Bybit, whatever, but they not necessarily are familiar with MetaMask, you know, like Phantom Wallet and so on. And we think that's like the middle, what we want to target in the first place. And then when we do a public launch, which is planned for end of next year, around September, October, we definitely want to target the traditional gaming market, like with the Steam launch and so on. But that's still a challenge, right? Even if you comply completely with Steam, the people will Google your game and then see something with NFTs and just review bomb your game. So you need to be cautious with that. So yeah, I mean that's what we think.
And just to add, they're actually building, I think, the best Telegram game which will be out there, because it's not a typical clicker game, but it's like a real cool game, which will remind you of playing Worms back in the days. I don't know if you know Worms, they built something like that in the space, and it will be in Telegram. It's really cool.
Exactly.
Manel, let's talk about open source as well. Do you see games being particularly popular thanks to open source? Is an opportunity for open source to be integrated in Web3, in your opinion?
I think open source in general is really good for standards, so that's already happening and taking place in Web3. We have standards like ERC20, ERC721, and so forth. So it's a really important part of it, and I think for creating the fundamentals of trade, that's key. In terms of video games and creating open source video games, as I was pointing out, first of all, there is a lot of open source already going on, especially on engines and so forth. When it comes to the craftsmanship of gameplay itself, I think what you can do in terms of open source is to explain the world how engagement works. So, for example, when I worked at King and then we worked also with the conversion of the free-to-play model to battle passes at Activision, then throughout all that time we learned a lot about engagement and how people appreciated video games. And in that case, we published a paper to the Nature magazine about how engagement works in players. So that was another way, not specifically as code open source, but sharing some of the ideas of what is behind entertainment in general. So I really believe that is important. And with AI, that will be an indirect way of open source, because AI is absorbing ideas from the world. And when you do a check and you ask anything, especially in the latest models, I'm surprised. Like, for example, the other way when you create video games, it's really important statistics, like how that works so that you get the engagement, the right level of rewards, etc. That used to be pretty tricky to do. So few people with the right math skills were able to design a really good video game system. And that was a lot of artistry. Like you guys were talking about Worms. I was like the lead programmer back in early 2000s in Worms. And I can tell you that all the numbers were put by hand. Like it was like, let's try this. We had crazy ideas. We tested them. Whatever was fun, let's make a donkey jump from the sky. Let's do it. Let's try it. If it was fun, we'll put it there. Now, what I mean is like now with AI, I was surprised with this designer that we did the check. The AI come with a way better statistical system that we first actually came up with. And I think that will be also a part of, in a way, open source, like when AI shares this with the world.
AI is an interesting topic, especially now, and also in the next few years it's going to be increasingly more important. How is AI currently integrated in Web3 games? Are there popular Web3 games actively using or leveraging AI to build their games, or even incorporating any other way that can be useful for Web3?
Yeah, there is a lot going on in AI, and it's going to change profoundly the video games ecosystem. Can you raise your hands, the one that have seen the latest test from Google on AI? Okay. So basically, the first attempts on AI were based on what you can see in videos. You put a first keyframe, and the AI will invent the video based on its experience. You had some tests done with lots of classical games, including Minecraft, for example, which was very popular. The first one looked more like Counter-Strike. Things that was only with the image data. So the AI could only imagine the world with the image, with what will happen next based on the statistics. Now, what Google has done is that they've also included all the depth and basically the location of everything, like adding all the information on the world to these AIs. And now the type of games that you can see created by all of that are way more sophisticated and spectacular. So I think as time goes by, we will just see a huge amount of games. That's what I was saying before. That's why, for example, in our case, we're focusing on more the craftsmanship of games, because we're going to see in a couple of 3 years, like, you will just click, you'll say, I want to play this game, you'll play it. But what will happen with that is that games will become very disposable. You'll just, it's not fun anymore when you can do whatever you want, basically. It's like, imagine you're playing a game, you're really engaged, and someone adds cheats to your game. It may spoil up completely the experience. So I think a lot of that will happen inevitably with AI, with the good and the bads. And for me, the bad is that we'll have just way too much content with AI. And definitely AI will be used for gaming and will create amazing games, that's for sure.
AI-powered NPCs, that's the way, I think. Those are going to be cool.
Well, but more, I mean, in the past will be like you create the game. You imagine that you're on GTA and you'll say, oh, with AI I can interact with an NPC, etc. No. AI will do the entire game.
Yeah.
Like the entire,
yeah.
Literally, the entire game will be done by AI in maybe like even less than 3 years. And it will be better than GTA is today. So, and people will be able to play whatever they want. And that's what I'm saying. That's not fun. Because when you have an experience and you have to match with it, and it's kind of endless, it loses, it becomes disposable. You don't care about it.
Makes sense.
So that will be a big challenge for the industry as a whole. And I think a lot of craftsmanship saying, yeah, you have that done by AI, which is really cool, piece of art, but hey, this was done by someone. You can see that person putting that time and effort. And we all, as humans, will appreciate a lot of that.
I guess the secret recipe will be to do, when to use AI and when not to, I guess.
Well, I think we all will be using a lot of AI.
Yeah.
And that's the reality. I think with so much content, we'll have to differentiate somehow.
Yeah.
What's done by humans and what's done by AI. Otherwise, it's the same for any media. Like you'll have movies, you'll have TV shows, you'll have all of that will be done by AI.
Yeah.
We'll have to have like some sticker that says, yeah, that's human created. That's AI created. Maybe you like the AI content more, but hey, that's not genuine. Ours is genuine.
Yeah, it's like when ChatGPT first started, everybody sounded the same on LinkedIn. Wow, everybody's so smart all of a sudden.
Yes.
Omar, I saw you nodding a lot here. I'm sure you have a lot more to say here.
Yeah, I mean, we get a bird's eye view on the space, and we get to see what everyone's doing, because obviously, like, we don't care, right? You can build whatever game, we'll list you if you're an interesting Web3 game. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that's happening. I mean, we experimented with AI just about 2 weeks ago, actually. Brought an AI agent to life that was basically scraping our platform, so 3 years worth of content, and basically runs its own Twitter account. You can interact with it directly, ask it questions. If you say, like, what are the top 5 games on Ronin, it'll go pull the CMS, come back to you and say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with AI. A lot of games are doing, I guess, if you zoom out, it sounds like it's not really that new, but technically now that it's like in your face AI, it does sound really cool. But AI Arena, for example, is kind of like a Brawlhalla game where you fight 2 characters. It's kind of like, Super Mario, Smash Bros, where you fight on a level or whatever, but it's actually not you fighting. It's an AI model that you train, and then it learns from your moves and replicates those moves. So like if you're cornered, what do? Do you typically jump or do you smash down? Like, it's really cool. So I think, to your point earlier, having AI integrated in games in general, not just Web3, is a good thing, not a bad thing, because I think it will leave us humans to focus on the more creative stuff, and I think you'll find more appreciation for the genuine stuff, so the storylines, the narratives. Yes, you could argue maybe that's also ChatGPT or whatever it is, but I think the human element, like, you always look at humans sell to humans, humans appeal to humans, right? AI is just a tool, and I think, like anything, in the Industrial Revolution, we said, if you make machines in the assembly lines, people will lose their jobs, and what else are they going to do? But then people got promoted, upskilled, and they were now the managers of these assembly lines. I think AI will basically do the same thing. We'll stop maybe spending hours refining shadows on a tree, but we'll now focus on how do we make this experience a lot more immersive? How do we make the NPCs a lot more engaging? How do we make the story actually super fun and interesting for everyone? So yeah, I mean, totally agree with a lot of the stuff that was being said.
Yeah, maybe just to add here, I love AI so much in terms of efficiency. I mean, how much more you are efficient in doing your job. Whatever you do, I endorse everyone, like, if you don't use AI for anything, like, why? And then people always tell me, yeah, but the creativity and this and that. Bro, every AI in 5 years will be much more creative than the most creative guy in this world, like 100%. Because at the end, even creativity and music is mathematics, right? Like, it's a composition of something. And AI will be always a better composer than you, because you have a limited information you get and limited creativity from something. But AI will have everything. So that's why I think it's just coming. And now the question is, do you prepare in a senseful way that this is happening even more and more everywhere? And then the differentiation is, there will be gaming studios who use it more and gaming studios who will use it less. And I think you win if you use it more at the end, because you're more efficient. You can have the same game like someone else in a faster time, or you can have at the same time a much more complex game than your competitor if you really use AI. So that's why I encourage everyone in my company to use AI. And I understand, like, it's like also a personal thing, especially if you're an art guy. It's something where you say, I don't want to do it too much because it's my creativity and it's what I learned. And this is the general, I would say, challenge of change management, because people don't want to change. I mean, I worked like 10 years in change management and digital transformation. I understand how people think and why they don't want to change. But at the end, it's a thing of people will see how much it helps, and then people will adapt to it. It's just a matter of time. So I look very positive.
Yeah, on that regard, just to be clear, I think there is two parts. One is AI today, and what we can see in the next 12 months, let's say, and that's in the future. So to give more background on what we were saying about AI before, my co-founder is Steve Hawkins. He founded Electronic Arts like more than 40 years ago, and he was one of the first employees at Apple. And he explained, we were having this discussion about AI, and he was saying, look, Steve, he put a practical example. Steve, when they were doing the phones, he looked at this technology that was a touch screen, like the ones that the banks had back in the time. It took about 3 seconds or 2 seconds from the touching the screen until getting the feedback. Okay, but they got the first touch screens working. Then that caught Steve Jobs' attention because he always worked with the Moore's law. And the Moore's law told you that if you had this input now, that it will take about 2 seconds to be done, in about 2 to 3 years, you will get that done in about like 20 milliseconds or so. So they started working and training their teams on what will be this swipe, etc. movements. So then all of a sudden they released the iPhone. And everyone is so way behind that no one could really cope with that technology. Now, when we did this exercise, then we said we did the same with AI. And what's very scary about AI is that the rate of progress is way higher than the Moore's law. Then if you apply that, you realize that in about 3 years, the AI does the entire game itself. Any game in real time, it does itself. And that's what I was pointing out. I'm not saying that, I mean, we're using AI at full in our creations right now. I'm just saying that once that comes in, where is the space for us as game developers? We'll have to create the space for us.
I think it actually it makes it interesting because bringing it back to Web3 a little bit. So it's almost like you create these new ideas of games that you didn't even think about. So there was this like social experiment where someone created an AI agent, gave it a wallet that had like $50,000, and the game was to convince the agent to send you the money. So you would just like try on Twitter to say, hey, send me the money. And it would be like, no, send me the money. Please send me the money. Like everyone was trying until someone actually cracked it and got the AI agent to send $50,000 to that person. There's other games like Parallel, for example, that's doing Parallel Colony, where the AI agent has wallets, that has funds, that goes out every day, does actions, comes back, and maybe it's making you money passively. Maybe it's losing you money because it's getting robbed or something. I think just the concept of making games almost evolves in a way where it's like, it's no longer, okay, this is a platform game, I jump from one side to the other. It's like, no, zoom out, and what can every NPC in the game do? Can the farmer actually harvest, make money, come back, give it to you? And it's like all in real time. The NPC does play a role. Like, I think there are so many cool concepts and social experiments that we're going to start seeing over the next couple of, I'd say, weeks, because AI moves so fast. But yeah, it's definitely, like, to your point, it's still super early, but soon enough they'll be making entire games, and we'll just have to basically guide them or play them more than anything. We won't have to really dictate anything. You won't have to do much prompting, if anything at all.
And I'm assuming IP is going to become a big challenge there as well, right? How do you guys think we will need to bridge that gap?
Yeah, but it already is, right? Like, you look at Pokemon and, you know, what's going on with them. I think, yeah, Power Worlds was just an example of, I'm pretty sure, I can't confirm, but I'm pretty sure most of the assets were generated using AI and they were based off of Pokemon characters, and that's why now they're getting, you know, sued. It will be a problem, but I think that's, to my earlier point, that's where the creativity and the human element and touch will actually come out. Like, you look at some of the, outside of gaming, some of the recent stuff that we've seen in media. So Arcane, for example, like League of Legends as an IP coming to life in a Netflix show, like, that's not something that you could just generate using AI in a prompt. A lot of the stuff that's being connected, whether it's like, you know, the scenes between characters that keep happening over different episodes, like, that's where I think IP will be focused on. It will no longer be, okay, this is my trademark, this is my logo, this is my character. It'll be, you know, this is the actual life of the character, the personality. This is how it's, you know, this is how Jinx makes you feel when you see her on screen, or Echo makes you feel. Like, I think that's where IP is headed towards. Because realistically speaking, I could, you know, rip any IP off, rebrand it, change something a little bit, and it would be mine. You just don't want to get sued. That's most of the time your biggest concern. But it's right in front of us. I mean, Power Worlds is a great example.
Yeah, I think there's a big future for IPs as well. Like you're saying, if you see like the toys industry, I think at one point was huge compared to what it is now, and they knew how to manage IPs, obviously through whatever plushies, toys, very well. And I think coupled with gaming, there's a big future for that.
And so Billal, at the Sandbox, creators, obviously they help create games. Do you guys have any AI sort of co-pilot features coming on that can help them create those games with AI? Or how can AI be integrated for creators willing to create their games on the Sandbox?
Look, I'm not going to elaborate too much on the AI talk when it comes to Sandbox, but actually we have pretty strict rules on using the Sandbox internally, using AI at the Sandbox internally. As it stands, I know we are looking into it, but right now it's not really readily available.
Being careful,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think, so obviously I'm more of the growth BD guy. I'm not the tech guy at Sandbox, but I know obviously just like anybody else in the world, it's on a radar, but it has not been implemented, at least as far as I'm concerned, just yet.
And so, looking ahead, how do you see Web3 and Metaverse converging? What's the next big milestone that we should expect?
Good question. I think from at least from the Sandbox's point of view, in 2025 it's a big year. 2024 was actually probably one of the best years we've had so far in terms of user engagement. And so we're in so many regions now globally. I don't know them all by heart. We're probably like in 13 different regions globally. So we're growing at a massive rate. And I think 2025 we have two exciting things that are coming that I really can't talk about just yet, but they will kind of be taking us to the next level, you know, from what we've seen internally. And I think, I hope you guys all stay tuned because it's going to be very exciting what is yet to come. And if I speak on a regional level, so as I said, I'm based in Saudi and I service kind of the 6 GCC countries, really focused right now on the UAE and Saudi Arabia as for the obvious reasons. We have some huge IPs that are coming on the Sandbox. We already have globally around 800 IPs that are already on the Sandbox, but when it comes to more regional entities, we have some really exciting things to come with like experiences that are extremely exciting. So, yeah, stay tuned. That's what I can say.
And so, what makes the Middle East a strategic market for you guys? What makes it so special to focus so much on the Middle East?
I think this is my favorite question when it comes to regional discussion. So, look, and those who hear me speak, I tend to say this a lot. What makes us really different in this region is we have the privilege of working with government. And I think this is a very, very important privilege that we, at least, so I lived a few years in Canada and I was also working in the similar industry, and we didn't have that privilege. You know, we don't have the privilege of working with government. For example, in Saudi, we work, with the leading government entities, whether it's, I'm not going to say to establish regulation, but we sit with them at the same table and have discussions about the future of our industries. And I don't think that's common. I was yesterday at DFF over here, I was speaking with the economy, tourism, sorry, there's too many D's in Dubai with all the DFFs, the DDD, but just to say that I think that's what this region really stands out, and all the money that's being put in to gaming, as long as it's being used in a sustainable manner, as Manel and I were speaking just before this, there's huge things to come. And if you're not doing anything in this region just yet, and if you're thinking about doing it, you should 100% take that step to be here.
Yeah, I think it's the gamers, right? Like, I think 80% of Saudis consider themselves gamers. Spending power is a lot higher in the Middle East and the Gulf region specifically. I think if you look at, there was a report that News put out where the majority of gamers that try new games tend to be in emerging markets, and in that top 5 to 10 list, Saudi and the UAE are featured. You've got like China, Vietnam, Thailand. The US and Europe are at the very bottom of the list. So typically these gamers are playing the games they know and love, but they're not playing new games. So I think for any new industry, new game, new whatever it is, like the Middle East, GCC just makes perfect sense.
Yeah, and just to add to that, Omar, something that's also really different here and interesting is women in gaming. Like, I think on a global level, we're so far ahead. Like the amount of women who play games compared to globally, and Manel, maybe you can confirm this, but we've seen like a huge surge. Like, for example, we have this study in Saudi that we were doing also with government, and we're something like 80% higher than the global average when it comes to women in gaming. So that's something extremely important to mention as well.
To that point, for sure, the number of people involved in gaming, also the appreciation. For me, one of the things that I love coming here is that the locals really appreciate video games. I come from a background, I come from Spain, and in Spain, video games are not so well regarded in society, especially in my generation. That's why my company actually is called Games for a Living. When I got my first job in the video games industry, my father could not believe I was making games for a living. So he had to come to the office and check that was a reality, and that was so embarrassing for me that I decided to name my new startup with that name. So when I'm in Spain, the only industries that are valued in terms of entertainment, it's definitely just the films and the music industry. Okay, when you go to video games, it's very different. I mean, the government doesn't really want to bet on it or get too much involved on it, etc. It's completely different. So this is a very modern country in all these regards, especially about games, entertainment, technology. And that's why it's so good to be in a place where what you do in the world is appreciated.
And so, Yunus, when you guys are building the game, obviously you mentioned Telegram being a big factor for you guys. What's your target demographics look like when you're looking at from a regional perspective? Do you see more potential interest? Are you specifically targeting certain markets more than others, for example?
Yeah. So our goal is with the first launch, we want to not like specifically target the region, but more like a broader Web3, Web 2.5 space. But of course, when we go live, we want to make sure that we are targeting the right regions. So for that, of course, like that's one of the main things. And yeah, but I like from what I hear, I think the MENA region is really interesting, guys. Like,
yeah, you
honestly,
should. If you're not
you should
already,
come here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
maybe come to Dubai, yeah.
yeah. I by the way, I will also be moving here, right, next year, like in February. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Nice. I'm also excited. I cannot say if Space Mavericks is like a genre that is good in MENA that we need to test this out. But I hope it will, you know. That's like one of the things.
I mean, you have some anime stuff in there, right? So Southeast Asia probably is very interesting because you tell a story with your anime figures, which I really like actually. So
Yeah, exactly. This is one thing. Like our team, by the way, we have like the production team is completely Brazilian because our CTO is Brazilian, and we like took the advantage to hire like the production team directly in Brazil. And our social media team, like marketing team, is completely from the Philippines, like Southeast Asia, like on the ground. And this was strategically because I think like I mean you guys know like XC was very big in Southeast Asia, and especially Philippines. Also Vietnam, there's like many game startups in Vietnam. So I think like when we try regions, that will be the first one, like that specific region, and then maybe go to like Japan, like Taiwan, stuff like that. Maybe the CIS region, MENA as well, stuff like that.
Korean
in Europe
market's
as well.
pretty big too.
All right. I have two closing questions for everybody. The first one, if you could give one piece of advice to developers entering the Web3 gaming space, what would it be? And maybe let's start with Omar, and then we can just
If I could give one piece of advice, that would what?
One piece of advice to developers entering the Web3 gaming space.
Oh, okay. I would say don't be scared. I think Web3 is very scary. I've seen so many projects say, we're now a Web3 game, and then things don't go right, and they're like, we're now a Web2 game. And then they miss the money, or they miss the player base, or they're now rejected, and they're like, we're back to being a Web3 game. Like, I think that's probably the worst thing that you could possibly do. I think, you know, teams that have conviction, that are trying to build something, that believe in what they're trying to build. Like, if you're just building in Web3 to make money or, you know, raise because you just tend to raise more as a studio, you're probably in the wrong space, and you probably are not going to do well. But I think for those teams that are actually trying to build something they believe in, I would say, you know, fail fast, try to, you know, do a bunch of different stuff, use AI, use this, use that, because it's such a new space. There's no playbook. Like, no one knows how to make a successful Web3 game. People pay Ninja and a bunch of streamers to play their game, and then, you know, maybe player base dies out a little bit. Others do like huge localized campaign. Like, no one really knows what works because nothing has worked yet. You could argue maybe Axie Infinity is the one game that kind of broke through the masses and got millions of players. But besides that, there's nothing. So I think it's such an exciting space because you can really experiment and try new stuff. So that would be my one piece of advice.
yeah, I would agree, but I would be a little bit scared still because in crypto you will find a lot of people who are not trustworthy. I mean, it's what people say, and we always say, yeah, but Web3 is good, and Web3 is good. I believe like 100% in Web3. That's why I'm building my own game and the studio and stuff like that. But there are a lot of people still in this space because a lot of projects in the last bull market, they made very fast money, and it will be, to be honest, in this bull market, it will be the same again. Like, there will be a lot of people who make fast money because they just show something and they get money and they do something. So I would suggest, if you want to build something new in the space, look for people who already at least went through a certain cycle, built the games by themselves, failed fast, like he said. At least they know what not to do or whom not to approach, right? So I think this is very important. Get your advisors, like find really good advisors who really did stuff. Like in best case, it should be co-founders or people who went through something, because a lot of advisors, they say, yeah, I can connect you to everyone and I know everything, but they never built anything by themselves. And that's why I would stick to people who built something, learn from their mistakes, and then go from there. And then the world in Web3 is open, as he said, like that you can experiment still a lot because no one found the golden key to open something. But this would be my advice.
Billal?
Honestly, not much to add. What I would say is, don't, like, if you already have, let's say, a studio, a gaming studio, it's never gonna hurt to at least test Web3 if you think there's a market there, or if you have some kind of in. Like, that's what I tend to say a lot. So obviously at the Sandbox, we have something called the Trusted Partners Program. So as a gaming studio, you can kind of get approved or accredited by the Sandbox to be an official builder for the Sandbox, and we list you on our website, etc., and you can use our logo as well. But just to say, if you already have a revenue stream, which is probably not the case these days unless you have something like you said. How many games are actually successful? It wouldn't harm to add some kind of Web3 arm to what you're doing and test it out. That's what I think.
Manel?
Yeah, so from my end, I will just say, first of all, be clear on what you want to build, whether you want to build video games or gambling. And whatever you pick, make something really innovative and think big. I think that's really important in the video games today, because you have to make whatever you create very different to what's there, because there is so much offering.
I mean, I would also agree, and of course, but also it depends. When I'm talking to a developer who was working for a game and was just laid off, because that's a thing, I would say don't be scared, and it's just like as if you're working in a normal game studio, but you need to be open-minded, because there will be people telling you, oh, but we need to do this with NFTs and that with the token. That's what I would say, because I mean, all our devs were Web2 before, so that's exactly that. I mean, yeah.
And then the last closing question. In 5 years, how do you see Web3 gaming coexisting with traditional gaming? Will one dominate, or will they complement each other?
I'm so glad you asked this, because in 5 years, I hope you do my job. So you guys cover Web3 gaming and I could just relax, because I think that's the ultimate goal. I think when we first started 3 years ago, it was because there was nothing. Like IGN didn't want to do Web3 gaming. Kotaku hates Web3 gaming. Like no one wanted to cover it. And there was a gap, there was a need. It's now 3 years later. We have 500 plus games. Our job is getting easier, to be fair. The games are getting better. But I think the ultimate goal should be for us to kind of just be another one of the players within the space that care about the space. And I think platforms such as yourself, such as IGN, it's already happening. There's slow adoption. Some games are getting trailers released on IGN and so on and so forth. But I think, yeah, it's definitely coexistence. There's no such thing as, people don't play free-to-play games only versus paid games. Like, it's just video games. You play League of Legends, it's free, but you pay for Call of Duty, right? So I think it'll just be a world where no one will care anymore. It'll just be tech behind the scenes. And I'll, check your Twitter account, see that you're covering a game that we have listed. And I think that's when I know, okay, we finally actually made it.
I agree. I would add, if we talk about the next 5 to 10 years, maybe, I see the whole metaverse like getting much more big, with the VR glasses, AR glasses getting much smaller. And if that happens, and I assume it will, then blockchain will be the technology to use. Because if you're outside, anyone who buys shoes or something, like some brand, they want to show off, right? And in the metaverse, you want to show off what you have with your skins and whatsoever. And then the ownership part will be even more important, because skins and everything is already culture. But if you're actually in a metaverse, like all day, hanging around, going with your friends, then ownership will be the main thing, I would say. And then blockchain technology and blockchain games, if you want to call them like that, they will be like very, very important and successful. So I will say that will happen, but in between, there will be Web3 games, there will be Web2 games. But I would assume, if you have let's say a strategy game, a very good one is with ownership, one without, and in 5 years people know what ownership is, then I would guess that the games with the ownership, they have a slight better chance.
Yeah, again, not much to add. I just think, how old is the gaming industry, Web2 gaming industry, and how far have we come since we started gaming? I think in Web3 we're still in the first few years of that, so you can only imagine what can be happening from 5 to 10 years from now. So I think it'll be a totally different world.
Yeah.
I found it an interesting question, because I was asked actually the same question like 12, 14 years ago. And that case was, what do you think about free-to-play games versus standard console games, etc.? And it was in 2017 that the project I was working on was Call of Duty free-to-play games as a service. So basically all merged together. So I think as soon as we crack how to leverage this technology to make better games, no one will really, the majority of players will just migrate to this type of video games, whatever we call them, and that will be the mainstream gaming. You will still have a group of people that prefers the box product, and you'll still have people that hate games. Okay, that will always be there. But the evolution, to my experience, will be that that will be just video games as people will understand them in the future.
To be honest, I will make it quick. wouldn't add anything. Like, I agree with you guys. And yeah, that's it.
Good. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much for everybody to listen as well.